Good Monday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Garden State Weather Premium video forecast discussions on YouTube and also available through via links at Garden State WEA on Twitter and Garden State Weather on Facebook when available. Here at the Weather Center, it's this gorgeous afternoon. We have temperature records all over the place. Right now in Woodbine, it's 81. Egg Harbor in southern New Jersey, 81. Point Pleasant, 80. Atlantic City Marina, 80. Dennis Township, 80. Point Pleasant's at 80. I mean, there's a lot of people on the beach here. Sure, we can probably get to one of those webcams here, if I can find it. But, you know, you'd be on the beach anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see, High Point's at 66, Vernon Township's at 70. It's 77 here in New Brunswick at the Weather Center at Rutgers University Meteorology Program, 76 and sunny here at the Weather Center. Other temperatures this afternoon. First of all, the minimum temperatures this morning, record-breaking low minimum temperatures in the 60s. And today's maximums right now, they're in the 70s and even 80s here in Howell, actually. Seagirt at 80, Point Pleasant 82. Incredible, right? For November the 7th, but that's all going bye-bye. And right now, the temperatures again in the low to mid 70s, even in the lower 80s in the New Jersey urban areas and down towards Philadelphia and portions of the coastline. Nearing that as well. If we took a look at the boardwalk here, yeah, it's the boardwalk cam now coming in from Asbury Park. Look at those waves coming in and some surfers out there. Yeah, there's some surfers out there in the water or just people going into the water. No, that's a surfer. Looks like a surfer. And look at all the people on the boardwalk on this afternoon. Gorgeous. Start off with a very busy pattern and lots of changes on the way as we've been forecasting. We've got now some tropical storm Nicole at 2 p.m. this afternoon from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds remain at about 45 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 1,000 millibars. 26.4 north, 70.1 west. Movement to the northwest going towards the Bahamas here at about 9 miles an hour. Meanwhile, we have this disturbance here. And it looks like a 60% chance of this becoming anything, but it's probably going to remain out and sheared out over the ocean. But still, short-lived tropical storm could still form as the system begins to move northward and then northeast at about 10 miles an hour. The low is forecasted to merge with the cold front by the middle part of this week, ending the chances for tropical development. So 60% chance over the next 48 hours, and then through the next 5 days, about 60% chance, and then after that, forget about it. We got nothing else going on in the Eastern Pacific or the Central Pacific, so let's get back into the Atlantic here. As of 11 a.m. this morning, hurricane conditions are possible across portions of the Bahamas and southeast of eastern Florida coast beginning on Wednesday, where a hurricane watch has been issued now, as you can see from this diagram. We'll get into that in a moment. Tropical storm conditions are possible in the tropical storm watch areas in Florida and Georgia beginning on Wednesday. A dangerous storm surge possible across portions of the Bahamas, much of the east coast of Florida, coastal Georgia. Storm surge watch issued for much of the east coast of Florida and portions of coastal Georgia, so that's a concern there. Do not focus on the exact track, since it is expected to be a large storm with hazards extending well to the north of the center and outside of the cone. We'll get into the cone in just a moment. Nicole will produce heavy rainfall by Wednesday night and Thursday across the Florida Peninsula, flash flood and urban flooding possible across these portions, along with river rises on portions of St. Johns River. Static cone map now places this storm as a subtropical storm and then into a brief hurricane over the Bahamas here by 8 p.m. on Wednesday, crossing over into anywhere here in this cone in Florida, West Palm Beach up to further north here in central Florida's coastline could be impacted. Then the storm is expected to get out into the west side here and then back up towards the southeastern coastline here of the southeastern coastal areas. So, you know, this is a concern that we've been monitoring. We'll talk about the rainfall from this now Heaviest rainfall is going to be over the ocean, but there will be substantial amounts of precipitation here from Miami into West Palm Beach area here. We could be talking about 2 to 4 inches of rain into the Tampa Bay area and into Orlando as well, and then further north. And this is the forecast through Thursday at 7 p.m. And a lot of this could change too. Flash flood potential exists anywhere from Orlando down to Miami here, or just east of Orlando into the coastal waters from central and southeastern coastal, just north of Miami here. So this includes West Palm Beach area, the Palm Beach areas, Fort Lauderdale, all of that. So storm surge, inundation. If we take a look at this, all right. Greatest storm surge potential here looks to be in this area here. Let's see. Let's go back here. We did the key messages. We did the wind history. Arrival time of winds. Arrival time of winds, 8 a.m. on the east coast of Florida here. Wednesday p.m. here across central and northern Florida. Thursday across Georgia, South Carolina here by Friday. South and North Carolina by Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. Peak surge here from Hallandale Beach all the way up to North Palm Beach, and that includes West Palm Beach too, of 2 to 4 feet, 3 to 5 feet further north here into Altamaha Sound. And this is an experimental probability of peak storm surge action at the time of storm arrival. And we're going to have a look at this Air Force 303 mission number 2 into Nicole right now. Subtropical storm Nicole, low level reconnaissance is in storm right now. There is no drop zone data available at this point. They're getting into it right now, and we can see the low level circulation showing up. In fact, we can see that on the latest model guidance as well in just a moment from Null Earth. NOAA 3 was in there just a little while ago, and this was again a low-level reconnaissance mission, and we can see the soundings here. So if we pull up the soundings, we can definitely see a very healthy looking storm with the maximum winds here basically on the northeast side of this storm. Actually, what we're looking at here is the amount of drop zones on the northwest side of this low-level circulation, and here it's pretty broad. This is a pretty broad, slightly disorganized storm system, but it's getting its act together, and we can see this from the most recent drop zone data. So let's go back here now to Nicole, and let's take a look at the satellite imagery. So this is a very broad area of low pressure, and it's disorganized. You know, low-level circulation is to the north and west of this storm. So let's dial this back, take a look at this from a different perspective. Let's do the surface plot here. So the Bahamas are out over here. So this is, you know, this is showing us, you know, we've got a broad area of low pressure here. This subtropical storm is located here at 70 west here and about 26 north, approximately, somewhere in that area. So it's a large circulation because on the east side, we have southerly flow veering into the southeast and eventually towards the north, on the north side of this. So, you know, this is a very large looking storm. Let's take this out. It's very disorganized too, but could certainly become a minimal hurricane before it approaches Florida here. So this is what we're going to look at, the global models right now from 18Z this afternoon, which is just coming in right now. And this is a very strong clustering that shows this is going to go right over the Bahamas and right into like somewhere near West Palm Beach, actually. and then further out curve briefly into the west coast, and then back up the east coast. And now some of the models here, and this includes all of them basically, or many of them, have the storm cutting east out over the ocean and racing to the northeast, being caught up with that cold front and upper trough over the northeast this weekend, taking it out to sea. Some of the other members keep it further inland. Now, that's the global and hurricane models. The GFS ensemble, pretty tight clustering here remaining over the southeastern states and then offshore. But this is going to be a significant problem. The pressures are going to continue to drop as this becomes a minimal hurricane before landfall here in Florida as possible. And then and back out over the ocean and then bombing out well off the coast of southern New England. But there are lots of members here on the west side of this, so I would be precariously cautious here, especially on the east ends of Long Island, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Cape Cod, southeastern Atlantic, northwestern Atlantic here. This looks to be a very difficult forecast. It's about the timing of the cold front and how far this gets pushed out. Next, we're going to go into 10 millibars in the stratosphere. We've got stratospheric warming occurring here, stretching the polar vortex over the pole here. Okay, this is what it currently looks like. If we move this forward in time, the stretching is going to become greater. This is according to the GFS model and probably the European model guidance, which we're going to look at a bit of again coming up. So this is the signal of a stratospheric warming event and a stretching of the polar vortex. Now, on the GFS model, whether that goes into two lobes or not is in question. On the European model, it does. And this is at 10 millibars. Yeah, so we're not really going anywhere. And it looks like a second lobe wants to form here just north of Hudson's Bay on the GFS going into the future here. So this is going to be a complicated forecast. Big changes are on the way, but I want to get back down to 70 millibars here, and let's go back to now, and then let's go back to the end here by, I don't know, what day is this supposed to be? Well, you can see it. It definitely wants to stretch the vortex here, even at 70 millibars, into two lobes here, one over the pole and one north of Hudson's Bay, Canada. So this is going to be a big problem going forward. But some of the other things I want to do, let's go back to now. Let's go and look at the 250 millibar jet structure here. So here in the United States of America and in the Aleutian Islands, we have a ridge over basically bulging up here. Low pressure over in the upper atmosphere over the Aleutian Islands here, and a west to east flow. This is a very powerful polar jet right now. In fact, it's stronger than the subtropical jet, and high pressure over the southeastern United States. Taking this down to 500 millibars, we can now see Nicole under this flow, and a very active polar jet with, not a lot of blocking just yet, but that's going to change. If we wanted to take a look at the blocking to see if we're going to get anything, yeah. Well, look what happens with Nicole. Nicole gets into Florida here. Okay, we can see this at 500 millibars, and even at the surface, it's off, it's inland here by Wednesday night and Thursday. Back to 500 millibars, the pattern is definitely changing. And this is going to capture this and bring it northeast. And that's exactly what the GFS model guidance wants to do. It wants to take the upper trough here and pull what is ever left of Nicole here northward. Now, what's interesting is the tropical precipitable water vapor channel. It's a very dry air mass coming in with that upper level low, but as we move through the grids here, see all that subtropical moisture being pulled northward. Probably on, dial this back here. This looks all very interesting for somewhat of a heavy rain threat here around Friday night, early Saturday morning, and we'll take a look at that in the model guidance in just a moment. And we can see Nicole now at 850 millibars, about 5,000 feet, and again, the model guidance, even at 850 millibars, continues to move this circulation right over the Bahamas into eastern Florida here, and then back out into western Florida. And this is where the interaction gets very interesting. We have all of the subtropical air surrounding this with high pressure well off the east coast, and this upper level low over the northern plains. Yeah, we got a lot of things going on here in the weather pattern. And we'll get back to that in just a moment. Here's the latest information from FluStar on COVID. Again, it's out there, especially in northern New England and especially in the southern Midwest. Cold and flu, it's really increasing just about everywhere. There's no fighting this. And the southeast and all of the eastern United States, there's so many people that are coughing through allergies, colds, flu, COVID. Strep throat is like going bonkers here. So if you're not ready for this, fever, yeah, it's quite a lot of it, and the flu. And of course the flu, like I said a couple of days ago, is spreading further inward bound towards New Jersey. This is crazy. Look at all of these yellows and reds here. Oranges and reds means it's either breaking record highs for the day or simply breaking monthly records. So, you know, if I went back to, let's see if we can go back here. We already have so many reports coming in, like Islip broke its record. 78, 74 was the record. Go back. Bridgeport, that's a record for today. Already, Newark, 79. And if we check Newark now, it's probably going to be above that, but it broke the old record already. So many records today have been broken and shattered. Also, Kennedy Airport, there's a record there. New York, in LaGuardia, there's a record there. So it's crazy, right? And of course, all of these others are minimum, record high minimum temperatures for this morning. So just crazy out there. It's cold to the north in Canada here, and it is cold across the upper Midwest, and it's very warm in the east, but that's going to change. This is all going to change. Even the 24-hour temperature changes here as of 19Z, RTMA, crazy. Heat indexes in the 80s, 90s here in portions of southern Texas here this afternoon. That's incredible. Cloud covered this afternoon. Well, it's offshore, the southeast with Nicole, but it's gaining strength. It'll get there into the Bahamas where it's very cloudy right now. In fact, if we take a look at all of this, hopefully it comes up. Here's the hurricane path here. Here's the water temperatures and the satellite here and radar. So, you know, got a lot of stuff going on in the country right now from West Coast, Central, and Eastern sides as well. But that's all going to turn around. It's all going to turn around. Looking at the European model guidance forecast here from Weather Bell at the 50 millibar level in the stratosphere. We have high latitude blocking. It's beginning to stretch the polar vortex. This was initialized as of this morning's 12Z run. And as we go out through the next 10 days, you can see it stretching and breaking into two lobes. And you might say to yourself, well, these lobes are, not necessarily compartmentalized in the right direction. But as we get into 10 days here by November 17th, this looks very interesting for storm potential. And other things look very interesting as well. So we're going to look at the 500 millibar pattern here from the 12Z run this morning of the European model guidance. And here comes the upper level low south of the Aleutian Islands into the west coast. And another one here further to the north with ridging building into Canada. And look at all this warm air here. And this is our subtropical storm Nicole right now. So look how this plays out. Very interestingly so, because the polar flow is changing, the Pacific is changing, and that's going to change this flow pattern around, and that takes that storm, Nicole, into the coastline of Florida, back out into the south and east, and then eventually it gets absorbed into this upper trough and cold front coming through on Saturday. And so it's going to be very interesting around here. We're going to have a lot of precipitation potential around here. And then cold air comes in right behind it with the upper level low. And this lobe of low pressure here, the upper level lobe at 500 millibars means some cold and chilly air here at 534 thicknesses here. That's cold. That could support definitely some snow. And when we're taking a look at the model guidance for the snow potential, it's all out in the west and upper Midwest and into Canada. But as we head into that period of next week, we'll find downwind lake effect snows here over Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting around here. Well, after all the records have gone past by today, that's going to be bygone because there will be no high temperature records around here going forward through the rest of the next 7 days. Let's take a look at the daily high temperatures across the Northeast. They're in the 70s to lower 80s today, latest model guidance, and they're going to be in the 50s tomorrow. Yeah, upper 40s in the Poconos, so big change. The warm up again ahead of that system, the remnants of Nicole and its interaction with the upper level trough and cold front as we head into Friday and Saturday. And then you can kiss that goodbye, because by next Sunday, we're basically not getting above 40 degrees in the Poconos and probably not much better than the mid-40s in northwestern New Jersey and even New York City around 49. We'll use the European model guidance from this morning, initialized at 12Z. Here comes Nicole, and here's high pressure blocking it from going further north. So it's going to retrograde southwest over the Bahamas and bring plenty of rainfall into Florida, especially the East Coast, and wind surge. Yep. And high pressures in control over our area on Thursday. There's nothing really going on in the Northeast, but this is where the interaction really starts to develop. At the surface, we have snowfall, rain and snowfall from this storm system moving in to the Midwest and upper Midwest. And then this is going to capture all of this rainfall potential and all of this water vapor that's in the atmosphere and bring it up the East Coast. And so there's going to be some areas where it's going to get pretty wet around here on Friday night and Saturday before all of that lifts out over the ocean. Actually, that was last night's run. Let's take a look at the latest one. And again, even if we looked at this, there's not much of a change here, but the potential for heavy tropical downpours are possible across Pennsylvania, the Virginias, Maryland, New York. How much rain are we talking about? Well, let's take a look. Let's do total precipitation. When we get into the total precipitation category, it's like off the charts here. It's very high across Pennsylvania and New Jersey and northern New England. And if we try to get back to New Jersey, we can do this. Yeah, we can. We'll see some heavy amounts of precipitation coming in. Could be in the order of 1, 2, 3 inches of rain in spots. Even 4 inches, not out of the question here in Pennsylvania. So this is a situation that we're going to be monitoring very closely.